of their humiliating defeat in 2016, and after Trump had called them all out for their disastrous policies, Democrats and their celebrity boosters were seething. Just 24 hours after the inauguration, this was their message.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. We are here to be nasty. I'm nasty.
Over the next months and years, we will be called upon to intensify our demands for social justice, to become more militant in our defense of vulnerable populations.
Militant? Well, I'll say. Fast forward to today, when we're seeing a disturbing uptick in politically motivated violence, mostly from the left. Abusive behavior, vile language, and in some cases, physical attacks are visited upon people for no other reason except for the fact that they're conservative supporters of the president. Just this week, here in Washington, a Trump supporter announced a meetup of fellow activists at a Trump hotel. Then someone using an anonymous Twitter account with the handle DreamStarJustic responded with the image of a handgun and the message, "I'm coming with a gun and I expect to get numerous bloodstains, Make America Great Again hats as trophies." Though the account, which supported the far-left Democratic Socialists, has since been deleted, D.C. police and the FBI investigated the mass murder threat. Authorities are right to take these threats seriously. And over the weekend, a Republican congressional candidate in California, Rudy Peters, who will join us in just a moment, was in a booth at a fall festival when a man named Farzad Fazeli approached him. An angry Fazeli yelled profanities about President Trump and then rushed the Republican candidate. Fazeli pulled out a switchblade, which he meant to use on Peters. Well, the knife thankfully malfunctioned and the candidate fought back. Fazeli's been charged with a felony count of making deadly threats and other misdemeanors. Now, this all comes on the heels of a spate of vicious attacks over the summer, where Trump officials and Republicans were targeted in public places. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Pam Bondi, Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen, and Stephen Miller were all set upon by activists.
Shame! 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 How can you enjoy a Mexican dinner as you're deporting and imprisoning tens of thousands of people who come here seeking asylum in the United States?
What would Mr. Rogers think about you and your legacy in Florida, taking away health insurance with people with pre-existing conditions, Pam Bondi? Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Even moderate Republicans like Susan Collins are subject to abuse. Collins' office on Capitol Hill has been slammed by calls to vote against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
If you care at all about women's choice, vote no on Kavanaugh. Don't be a dumb you also.
If you vote for him, you are standing there feckless woman, standing there letting Trump and his appointees steal health care from millions of Americans, steal the right to choose what women do with their bodies. And you stood by there. Oh, I didn't know. I'm so naive. You.
Like the destructive antics of Antifa or the rioting that swamped Baltimore, you can always count on the left to justify aggression. This is MSNBC contributor Yamiche Alcindor.
When you listen to those, and having been out on the campaign trail, it's the passion of people. It's obviously abusive, and the language that that's being used is abhorrent. But you also feel that they're talking about life and death issues.
Now, it's important to focus on the word "but" that she used. It's abhorrent, but life and death issues. In other words, as if to say the abuse coming from the left is almost justified. Reading between the lines, as they like to say. Well, that's certainly what James Hodgkinson thought when he tried to assassinate Republican Steve Scalise at a baseball field in Virginia last year. The threats, the demonization, the violence, it's all of a piece. And by the way, Steve Scalise will join us in just a moment. Activists on the left have created basically a deadly ideology where harassment and even doing bodily harm has become essentially a legitimate tool of the resistance. This is Congresswoman Maxine Waters from this weekend.
There are those who said that we lacked civility when I got up and talked about the president's cabinet. Just tell them you're not welcome here anywhere. And so it frightened a lot of people. And of course, the lying president said that I had threatened all of his constituents. I did not threaten his constituents, his supporters. I do that all the time, but I didn't do it that time.
That's just utterly disgraceful, and it's not funny. You know why it's not funny? Because lives are now being endangered by reckless speech like this. It's not a political debate. We're not debating the issues here. It's a conversation that goes one way. You're abhorrent, you're awful, you're like Hitler, you're a Nazi, so we will destroy you by any means necessary. That's how the game goes. Well, I say it's time for the Democratic Party to not only condemn this hate speech, but to repudiate these repeated political acts of terror before someone loses their life. Political battles on both sides, you bet, Republicans and Democrats, should be limited to discourse and debate, and sure, protest, that's fine. To allow this dangerous trend, though, to continue, of the kind of stuff we've been seeing, is going to take our republic and our politics to places we dare not go. And that's the angle.